Hey gamers, this is Liz Davidson from Beyond Solitaire, and today I'm going to review Cartographers, a role-player tale, designed by Jordi Auden and published by Thunderworks Games. In a game of Cartographers, you are an explorer who is off making maps for Queen Gimnox, who has some specific requests for the kind of land that you go and find. In each game of Cartographers, you're going to draw 4 different scoring conditions, and those conditions are going to change from game to game. Throughout the game, you're going to have to keep an eye on them, as different scoring conditions are scored in different seasons. So, for example, in the spring, you'll be scoring A and B, but in the fall, you're scoring for scoring conditions C and D. To fill in the terrain on your map, you're going to be drawing exploration cards, and in each season, you're going to shuffle in one of these ambush cards, which are monsters who end up on your map. I'll do that right now. So in each turn of the game, you need to be thinking about which scoring conditions you are getting the material for from the exploration deck, which scoring conditions are coming up, and what your map in general is looking like. On a fishing village, it's going to give me choices between 2 different kinds of terrain. So here is a village space as marked by house. This is a water space, which is going to be marked by water. So I have to choose one of the terrain types, and then I have to basically put it in this pattern of 4 squares in a row. You're allowed to rotate or flip the shape, but it has to be this shape. So knowing, for example, that I'm going to want to make some big wild holds and have lots of houses out on the board for scoring condition A, let's say that I want to put a fishing village somewhere where I can get a lot of those. So let's say that I'm going to do it like this. So basically what you do is you draw your shape, and then inside, you draw little houses. My houses are very questionable, and I can live with that. The other thing is that I've built next to a mountain, because every time you surround one, you get a coin, and every coin you cross off is an extra point per round, or if you're playing with the expansion, a way to purchase extra bonuses throughout the game. The other thing is that the 2 is telling me how much time has passed in spring, which has a total of 8 time. So once I've drawn cards that meet or exceed 8 time, we're going to stop the game, score for spring, switch over to summer, and then reshuffle our exploration deck and start again. So let's draw another exploration card, just one more, and see what we get. Okay, so in this case, we got the Forgotten Forest. This one cost us 1 time, so we know we still have plenty of time left in spring, and it gives us 2 shape options. I can either just do 2 squares on my map and get a coin, or I can do 4 squares on the map in this general shape. So I'm looking over here at the Sentinel Wood, and I also know that I'm going to score in this round for trees that are along the edge of my map. So I might decide to go ahead and I think what I'm actually going to do, because this is how I roll, is I would take the 2 and basically I'll just put, I like to draw my squares in, some people just draw shapes. I'm going to put some trees here and take a coin. So basically the game is going to proceed like this until the end of spring. We'll score and then we'll move on to summer and do it again. There's one other type of card I'm going to show you. Oh no, a goblin attack, what a surprise! Alright, so the way this works in a multiplayer game is that players will actually trade maps and draw the goblin attack on each other's maps and be a real pain. In the solo variant of the game, there is another way. So this bottom corner is a little bit more purple than the others. So basically what happens is I start in the bottom corner and I just go ahead and draw wherever it's first going to fit. So right here in the bottom corner, I will have no problem putting a goblin attack, and what a pain in the rear it is. Some monsters are just these little heads with horns on them. And now I have some monsters. So at the end of the season, this is going to matter because there's no time on the goblin card, by the way, so you can just discard it. The end of the season is going to matter because I will lose 1 point from my score for every single box that is empty and adjacent to a monster box. So unless I fill stuff in throughout the rest of my turn, I'm going to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 points lost at the end of the round. So those ambush cards can be pretty damaging if you don't handle them correctly. But yeah, this is just an overview of how Cartographers is played. You draw a card, check the time, fill in part of your map, and as you do that, you keep in mind the scoring conditions that are both present for the round that you're in and coming up for future seasons. I was already a fan of role player in the role player universe, but I think Cartographers is a very good addition to that general world. As a roll and write, even without considering it solo, I think it's a really good game. I love the Tetris-like elements of it. I like deciding where to fit my pieces, how to rotate them, and I also love that being able to see the different scoring conditions at the beginning of the game gives you a chance to make plans for the future. So if you draw a card that doesn't work for you in the moment, you can still see if it'll do something for you later and make plans for that. I also like that the scoring conditions vary from game to game and will appear in different combinations because it just makes it a lot more exciting to play. There's a lot of replayability in the game, and I like having to plan for and deal with scoring conditions that are interesting in combination and are actually separately interesting as well. This is one of those games where it's still a light and relaxing game, but there's just enough choice to give it some teeth, and I think that's a really satisfying thing for a roll and write game. One thing I particularly like about Cartographers as a solo game is that it takes into account the differences in difficulty level between the scoring conditions that you can draw for the game. So instead of just going for a high score, you actually use the scoring conditions that you drew to calculate a score that reflects your actual performance. So you can know how well you did based on the challenge that you faced in the game. I also like that it has a scale to tell you how well you did. So Queen Gimnox gives you a title that reflects your performance, because rather than just be a beat your own score game, it gives you a way to really gauge your accomplishments in the game. My only quibble about the solo mode is that in the multiplayer game, the ambush cards just work a lot better. There is a solo rule for how to place ambush cards when you draw monsters that works, and it works just fine, but it's not as exciting as having somebody try to really mess you up as there would be in a multiplayer game. And I kind of feel like that one little take that element is actually a really juicy part of the game, and losing it in solo is really a loss. That said, Cartographers is just a really solid roll and write game. I have played it several times, and I plan to play it several more. It's always in my game bag. It's easy to teach. It's a pleasure to play. And for that reason, I'm absolutely giving it a 9 out of 10, a Dice Tower seal of excellence. Happy gaming.
Thanks so much for watching another Dice Tower video. If you enjoy our videos, subscribe to the channel for more fun, comprehensive board game coverage. Also, consider joining us at one of our events. Come to Dice Tower Retreat, a small, intimate gathering where gaming is king. Join us for Dice Tower Cruise, the largest board game cruise. Attend Dice Tower West in Las Vegas for gaming fun on the West Coast, or Dice Tower East in Orlando, in sunny Florida. Dice Tower Conventions, the friendliest gaming conventions on Earth. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower.